Hey y'all, so I am back with another video. If you don't know me, my name is Dee. I am the young, black, and infertile young lady that you read about in the magazine. Hey y'all, it's Dee, and I am back with part 2 of my crazy infertility story. You heard a lot about my last video when I talked about how I was young, black, and infertile, and we were able to conceive our miracle baby via IVF. You think that story was crazy? Wait till you hear this one. God performed a miracle then, and he performed another one, and I cannot wait to tell you about it. It was June 29th, 2019. My husband and I had just left the wedding, and I kind of was feeling a little queasy, and I had kind of been feeling sick, and so my husband was saying that maybe you're just tired, you've been doing a lot of ripping and running, and you just probably just need some rest. And I said, okay, you might be right. I took some days off and I tried to rest, but it's like it kept getting worse, and it almost kind of felt like the flu. And I thought maybe I was just getting sick. And so this continued and continued, and this feeling of the flu continued, and it was almost like I started to feel like I was a bottomless pit. I would feel nauseous, I would eat, only be full for a few minutes, and then I'd be hungry again. And these symptoms felt very familiar. So I started to kind of wrestle with myself because I'm feeling like I might be pregnant, but there's no way. I don't have any tubes, remember? I had to do IVF to conceive my first child, remember? I just thought that I was crazy at this point. So I kept trying to ignore the signs. I kept trying to ignore everything. And I remember that my best friend had actually introduced me to a series called Crazy Faith with Pastor Mike Todd. And I just remember him kept saying that it's crazy until it happens. But this is crazy. There's no way I can be pregnant. So I remember I'm in the shower and I was just praying and crying and thinking like, God, just give me a sign. If I'm pregnant, just tell me I'm pregnant. If I'm crazy, just tell me I'm crazy. Like, this can't be true. This can't be real. I don't have fallopian tubes. And that's all I kept saying. So then, my type A personality kicks in again, and I find myself Googling, can a woman get pregnant with no fallopian tubes? And the answer was, no, it cannot happen. It cannot happen. You cannot get pregnant naturally if you do not have fallopian tubes. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna settle this once and for all. So I take a walk in shame in Target to the pregnancy test aisle. And I go and I get a pregnancy test, and I immediately come home and I am nervous. I am shaking. I take the test, I set it down, and I step away and I woosah, I breathe in, I breathe out. I come back, I look at the test, and it's positive. And there we have it, 2 pink lines. So I immediately take the test in there to my husband, and he looks at the test and he's like, you pregnant? And I said, yeah, but I'm not supposed to be. And so I'm like, we need to go to the emergency room now, because the doctors did tell me that it was highly unlikely that I could get pregnant with no fallopian tubes. But if I did, it would probably end up in another ectopic, because the baby would not have an avenue to travel to the uterus without the fallopian tubes. So that means the baby will probably implant somewhere in my abdomen. We immediately run to the hospital. I go to the emergency room. I'm telling my story to every single nurse that would listen. And they're like, oh, okay, well, it's probably just a fluke. Like, there's no way you could be pregnant if you're saying you don't have fallopian tubes, but we're gonna do a sonogram just to see what's going on in there. So I'm like, okay. They take me back, they do a sonogram, and they sit me back in the lobby for what seemed like forever. And so I'm there and I'm waiting. And so I tell my husband, I'm like, hey, I'm probably about to get prepped for surgery because they are taking forever to come back and tell me. They come back and they're like, hey, we want to get a few more pictures of your ovaries. And I'm like, oh my God, now the baby has implanted in my ovaries. I'm about to lose my ovaries. This is crazy. Then they just take me back behind a curtain and they start giving me discharge papers. And so I'm confused. I'm like, what's going on? The doctor comes and he said, well, you definitely are pregnant and the baby is definitely in your uterus. And I said, but how? How did it get there? And he said, I don't know. But you just need to follow up with your OBGYN and they told me I was about 8 weeks along and everything looked fine. And I was in shock. I could not believe what I was hearing. And I remember just sitting there waiting for my husband to pull back up, and he calls me. He's like, "Hey, you ready?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to go." And so he's like, "Okay, I'm almost there." He hangs up. But I guess he thought about it, and he's like, "What you mean ready to go? Shouldn't you be getting prepped for surgery? Like, what are we doing?" So he calls me back, and he's like, "Well, what did they say?" And I said, "Well, your baby will be here in February." And so God had done it again. Another miracle in the book. I was not fearful this time of this pregnancy because I saw what God did for me before, and so I knew that he would do it again. The only thing I should have feared was having 2 under 2. We were excited. Our family was growing, and it was beyond what we imagined or we thought. We thought we were a one and done. We thought that we were gonna have to do IVF if we wanted more children. So God had done it again. We were able to conceive our second child naturally with no fallopian tubes, in which I gave birth to her on January 31st, 2020. So here we are, 2 under 2. I just cannot believe that this happened, considering just 3 years ago, we were crying and praying and begging God for just 1 child. And he blessed us with 2. Just when we thought that we were good, God had already performed 2 miracles, and there was not a need for a 3rd. But I miraculously found myself pregnant again, naturally. Fast forward back to October 22nd, 2021. I was having those feelings again. The bottomless pit eating thing, the nauseous thing, all of the things. And I said to myself, I know that I am pregnant again. Took that walk of shame in Target, went and got a pregnancy test, took the test, and sure enough, it was positive. 2 beautiful pink lines. Now, I will tell you, I was not very excited about this pregnancy. I was struggling. We had 2 under 2. COVID had hit. I was now working from home full time. It was crazy in the urban household. And so I was not ready for another child. But I said, this must be part of God's divine plan. Sometimes we don't understand it at first. Sometimes it just does not make any sense. I kind of start to trying to prepare my mind and wrap my mind around the fact that there was going to be another baby in the urban household. So I ended up going to a new OBGYN only because it kind of just worked out being closer to my house. And I had to tell my story all over again, and I had to take a lot of tests. Initially, I was kind of too early to do a sonogram to be able to confirm the pregnancy, so they would watch my HCG levels. A normal pregnancy, they would double every 48 hours, and that's what it was doing. They were doubling, and so this was looking to be a normal, boring pregnancy. And so then I went in for my first sonogram, only for the doctor to tell me that there was nothing there. They did not see a baby. They did not see a heartbeat. There was a sac. My numbers were looking as if, we're looking like they were supposed to look in like a normal pregnancy, but they found no heartbeat. And so in that moment, I can say that I still have faith. I still believe that whatever God said would happen, and that if we were supposed to bring another baby home, and we would. With everything that I had already been through, I knew that this was not a time to give up. I knew that I had to keep pushing and I had to keep believing. And so that's what I did. Only until my numbers then start to drop. And so this is usually a sign of loss. And so I had already been here before. And so I kind of knew that, and I was trying to wrap my head around it. Although naturally, I started to get excited. I started to accept the fact that I was going to have another baby. And crazy thing is, what I used to try to do with my other losses as well, I would try not to get attached so that it would hurt less. But I'm here to tell you that that does not work that way. It does never hurt less when you don't tell anyone. It never hurts less when you don't allow yourself to get attached. It doesn't hurt less when you don't talk about it or you don't start looking at baby things online. It doesn't hurt less. And so although I had already been blessed with 2 miracles, this loss did not hurt less. So I'm there preparing for a loss as my numbers continue to drop, but I'm not having any bleeding or anything like that, just the numbers are dropping. And so one day I'm on the phone talking and I just fall to the ground because I start having this pain in my stomach that was so unbearable, and I fall to the ground and I'm crying, I'm screaming and feeling like I'm about to die. And so I was on the phone with my mom. She calls my husband, who rushed home, calls the ambulance. They put me in the ambulance, and I get to the hospital, only to find out that I am actually having another ectopic pregnancy. So this baby actually ended up attaching to a small piece of my fallopian tube that was left. There was no tubes to remove. I was gonna have to have that baby and that little piece of tube removed. So after everything I had gone through, I thought that I had beaten infertility, only to find myself back in the same situation, back with another loss after a successful natural pregnancy that wasn't even supposed to happen. So I'm here now feeling defeated once again by infertility, because now I'm at a loss of, am I infertile or am I not? In the days followed, I wrestled with my grief of experiencing yet another loss. I held on to God's promises, and I took that as a sign and God telling me, not right now. So I don't know what's to come. I don't know if I will conceive again, but I know what God has promised me, and I know that God fulfills his promise even when things look bad, even when things do not appear as we want them to appear, even if things don't go according to our plan. God's promises always comes to pass. So I want you to take away from this video to remain faithful, remain hopeful, trust and know that whatever God has put in your heart and on your heart, that it will come to pass. Trust the process, trust the journey. It's not going to be easy. I want you to know that God is with you every step of the way. Even if it seems like he's gotten quiet or it seems like he's gotten far, he hasn't. It's all part of his divine plan. And I want you to remain close to community, remain close to your loved ones and people that are there to support you. Document your journey. God has blessed me, and this is what my family looks like now. And just keep in mind that loss doesn't diminish the value of miracles. God is still in the miracle working business, and he's still performing miracles. It doesn't undo the blessings he's already given me. I am blessed that I was able to experience those losses, and I was able to conceive via IVF and conceive naturally, and being a bonus mom. Like, this is not what I envisioned that my family would be like, but I would not change it for the world. I thank God every day for allowing me to become the mother that he promised me I would be in a way that I didn't see it. So as I continue to be obedient to sharing my story with the world, God put it on my heart to come out with the book. And the book is called How Did You Get In There? And you could go to the link in my bio to pre-order this book. And I am going to go into much more detail into my journey from the beginning of time to where I am now. Thank you for watching my video. And if you guys have any more questions or anything you want to know about my journey, feel free to comment below and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. Be sure you check out the link in the bio for the book. Thank you. Bye.